Hello, and well, what a better way to say this other than happy spooky season.
Happy
It is a spooky season. We are celebrating, and what's a better thing to do during spooky season than rewatching old favorites? I'm very partial to the Halloween special, like the SpongeBob Halloween special. That's my thing. Um we're also discovering new favorites. You're gonna try to get me to watch Barbarian when it hits HBO Max.
Try? I'm going to make you watch Barbarian.
So that's gonna happen. Yeah, so old favorites, new favorites, and well, really, if you're like us, you're just spending the entirety of spooky season rewatching seasons 1 through 4 of Stranger Things. Yes. Or as we like to call it. Yes, or as we like to call it, Ta Rara La Cosa.
Ta Rara La Cosa. La cosa rara. Cosita rarita.
La cosa rara. What could that mean?
Hey everyone, welcome back to Filmme Talk, a podcast where two gals talk film, television, and everything in between the reels. I'm your host, Ileana Melendez, and I'm joined here by my ever so lovely co-host, Miss Josie Melendez. And if you couldn't tell already, we're on a theme. We are on a roll and we're on a theme here for spooky season. We are going to be revisiting each season of the highly loved, beloved, critically acclaimed spooky series on Netflix, and one of Netflix's, basically
the crown jewel
of Netflix originals, quite honestly, since 2016, Stranger Things. During this 4-episode series, we are going to be revisiting each season, and I honestly haven't rewatched these since they came out, so it's kind of like watching them for the first time for me, but yeah, Josie's the veteran.
Ileana isn't like me. I rewatch them religiously every year, especially when a new season comes out and I finish it and I feel empty. I just revisit the old seasons just to feel something again, especially after season 4, which is where I took inspiration from for us to sit down and do this, because again, you haven't rewatched them since they came out, and season 4 really left me destroyed. R.I.P. Eddie Munson.
Inconsolable.
So I just thought, what's the better thing to do than just talk about Stranger Things and why we love it, because we're definitely not the same people we were when we first watched this show.
Oh, that's deep.
Yes.
Oh my god, so true, bestie.
And they're not. Like, you revisit it and you're like, oh, look at the babies.
There's such a little baby face. No, seriously. Yeah. Like, 2016 was, 6 years ago already? And the final season of this series is upon us very soon. 5th season is coming out, 2023, 2024? You know the details. You keep up. What's the you like right the now. Gossip sites. The Google it.
I'm Googling right now. I think I know. Yes, so if I get too close to the mic, I'm sorry, listeners, but I'm doing the research for you. So, yes, it is likely to hit either late 2023, if not well into 2024. It has not been confirmed, though. It would be most likely, I think they might try to shoot for November just to finish it the way it started.
That makes
I think
sense. Yeah.
I think that
I
would be
mean,
nice.
November 6th is Stranger Things Day.
That would
because
be
that's where it
that
all
if they
started.
managed to get if they managed to do that, I think it would be like the perfect bookend for the show.
Honestly. And I think, and we're going to get into it right now, this show really loves tying things together with a little bow. At least in season 1 they did. I'm sure we'll get into season 4 when that episode is upon us. But today we're going to focus on season 1. But before we jump into that really quick, do you think, and this is just like a quick little bonus tidbit, do you think that they should do the same release strategy they did this time with season 4? Instead of dropping everything all at once, have the last 2 episodes drop like a month later? I think so too.
I don't know if the last 2 episodes, of course, it depends on length. I think they were smart with this one because each episode is essentially its own little movie. Depending on how those lengths are, etc., I think it would be nice. I also like that they will not be introducing any new characters in this final season.
Thank God.
Yes. But bring Eddie Munson back. We'll get into that later.
Honestly. We're moving on.
Honestly. But before we move into episode 1, I just want to give a shout out to Christian Bob. Follow him on the Twitters and the socials because he made our lovely intro music and we couldn't be more happy, satisfied, excited, etc.
Honestly, it's a bop. Because we told him the assignment was Stranger Things, pero con sazón, batería y reggaeton. And he followed it to a T. So, en verdad, gracias, Christian Bob. No notes, just fire. So that's going to be our intro at the beginning of each episode for the series. So it's going to be a 4-episode series, but it's kind of like we've been working on this for a couple of months now. And I think it's pretty special. So I'm really excited. I hope that you guys enjoy it. So let's just dive into it. Josie, season freaking 1. How many times have you seen this?
I lost count. Listen, let me give you the Wikipedia page. I absolutely love Stranger Things. I came into it a little bit late, before season 2, obviously, but I remember it came out and everyone was talking about it. It was everywhere, and I finally succumbed because it came to the point where that meme, where Homer is sitting at the bar and there are like different women around him, like it's a queer bar. I think I've never seen the episode, but that's what I get from it. And every single woman's face had the Stranger Things logo on it, and I'm like, what is this Stranger Things nonsense? ¿Qué es Ta Rara La Cosa?
Yeah.
So I eventually caved, and because I also don't do scary, I was still in that phase where now I'm warming up more to horror and everything, but because season 1 was spooky, and it took me a while to get into it because everyone was like, yeah, it's kind of scary, blah blah blah. And honestly, it was one of those shows where I started watching it at night. Big mistake. And even though I was exactly, the vibes are right. I was scared, but I was vibing. It was nice. That whole sequence at the beginning with Will running into the shed is just such, like, I was telling you the other day that rewatching season 1 this past 2 weeks, I would just start crying during each episode, which don't make fun of me, but it's just
I did too. It's
nice.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just nice to see how far it's come, and I know you wouldn't make fun of me. It's the viewers out there. But it's nice to feel emotions.
I've made fun of you before, but it's with love and care.
I know. Exactly. It's different.
It's different.
But it's just also, I just get emotional because a lot of us are aspiring writers. I'm a writer, and to be able to recognize the writing in the show, the amount of times I analyzed shows, like episodes of Stranger Things season 1 and 4 class, because I was just so enamored with the writing and just the style and everything, and like it's just pristine. So it just makes you emotional being able to see stuff like that and wanting to be able to create something like that one day. Yeah, it's just a good show, and
it's aspirational. It really is aspirational. And I mean, look at the critical acclaim that first season got. I mean, they got a SAG Ensemble.
They got SAG Ensemble, but why the hell did Winona Ryder and David Harbour not get individual awards? like at the Emmys or the Golden Globes. Like, that's preposterous. I was watching, like, these two are giving the performances of their lives.
They were
Freaking
turning
Winona,
it up.
Winona Ryder going into the shed, getting the axe, and going back into the house and sitting on the sofa. I was like, you are up there. You are literally, you know how there's a hall of fame for, like, yeah, there's the hall of fame for, like, Sigourney Weaver and Alien. She's up there. Joyce is up there.
Oh, yeah. Joyce is that girl. She is that, like, not final girl, but it's like, oh, what's the term? I'm sure there's a term that it's slipping my mind right now, but she is like the Sigourney Weaver in Alien. She is like that bitch. She's simply that bitch.
She's the mom of The Shining snapped, but like in a good way. Like, I'm about to kill everybody in this room.
Anyways.
But yeah, how'd you get into Stranger Things, and what was your experience rewatching it?
You know how I got into it?
When was the last time you watched season 1?
The first time it came out. I saw it opening weekend.
You haven't seen it again since then?
Since right now.
Ileana, you haven't seen season 1 since 2016?
I just rewatched it.
I know, por eso.
Uh-huh. I've seen it twice
time
now.
has passed?
It's been 6 years.
I feel weird.
But also, I'm a weird person that sees things once.
I know,
rewatch.
But we like the show so much, so I'm shocked. But how did you get into it? Let's go back to that.
Bitch, I saw the trailer.
Okay.
I saw the trailer before it came out, and I was like, this is my jam. So literally that Friday night, when did it come out? October 2016?
I think it came out. Keep speaking to the people. I shall be your
Google. Yes. You're my guy in the chair. Yeah. So basically, I saw the trailers, and I was like, I'm absolutely on board with this. I grew up watching The Goonies. I grew up watching E.T. and all these, super iconic 80s kids, little rascals.
So, real quick, it came out in July 2016.
It was July? Oh my god, it was the summer. That's crazy.
I watched it in the fall.
Oh, okay. Now, I saw it
took
in the
me
summer.
months. Look at me. It took me months.
That's the thing. I saw it as soon as it dropped Friday on Netflix. It was, it was the summer. And I'm pretty sure I had just finished my first summer class. So I had just actually, like, I only had a month of summer vacation. So I think if it was early July, it was like my first actual true summer vacation weekend. And my dad and I just sat down and binged Stranger Things those 3 days straight.
Good.
And we were hooked from day one. Like, we were early adopters. In fact, like, I've seen every season that has premiered, I've seen opening weekend, and I've always seen it with my dad. Like, it's like a father-daughter thing we have.
This is literally the only show I watch with my mom. Like, we sit, like a new season comes out, and I watch it with my mom.
It's fun because it is set in the 80s, so you can, like, also, like, even your parents also enjoy it because it's also, like, a little bit nostalgic, and it makes so many references to media from that era.
But also the thing is that because my mom's very into the 80s. I mean, she was in her 20s in the 80s, so, like, the best time to be, like, being a 20 in your 80s, in the 80s, like, being 20 in the 80s, what a bop. But my whole thing is that all
the historical context running through my brain. Go on.
I know, but the style. I'm thinking about the style.
The aesthetic.
Let's focus on the aesthetic right now, because that's the point of Stranger Things. We'll get into the everything later, because that's also a big problem of the show, because they're very into the Cold War and all that jazz, and Russia.
Oh yeah, it's very much like, oh, this is the Reagan era.
Yes, it's everywhere. But my main thing is that as the show has grown more popular, and I don't live with my mom anymore, I usually am like, hey, I'm gonna watch it on my own, and then I'll do a rewatch with you, because I don't want spoilers. And she's okay with it.
It'd be like that.
Yeah.
It'd really be like that. Yeah, I just watch it opening weekend because I'm like, I don't want any spoilers, and I tend to just put it on the TV, and my dad will just sit there anyway and watch it with me. Does he not enjoy it as much as he used to in the first seasons? Perhaps, but he still watches it. He still eats it up. he not a fan of season 4 because he was like, what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps, but it still holds up. It's still genuinely wildly entertaining. And I think season 1, because it is such a, like you said, a masterclass in writing, and it is so
Mm-hmm.
precise and detailed and very just tied up with a beautiful little bow, and it starts and
Mm-hmm.
ends with the same shot.
Yeah.
It's just gorgeous, gorgeous
And the
storytelling, as
music.
well as the music. The song choices were excellent. The characters are so charming.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mentioned this to you. I was paying more attention to the kids now than I did the first time around. We kind of like went backwards because the first time around I was
Yeah.
super interested in, Joyce, Hopper, Nancy, like all the teenagers. Even though I love the kids.
Yeah.
I paid attention to everyone, but like I was like, ooh, they're interesting because the kids, you know, they were childish, they were immature, they acted like real children.
Like, yeah.
And sometimes, on first watch, I was like, oh, this is kind of annoying. But at the same time, that's how good the writing is. They're actually acting like 12-year-old,
Yeah. And
boys.
then the first time I watched it, I focused more on the kids and that joviality. And then, because I love the Goonies, I love all those movies. Like Hook, I know different eras, but I love that vibe. And this time around, I focused more on the adults because I was very enamored. We all know that Stranger Things follows different genres, and eventually all those genres and storylines connect. Like when the kids and the adults and the teenagers finally meet in the middle and they solve the big problem near the end. And just this time, it was so delicious focusing on Hopper's storyline specifically because I love how he goes from just small town cop just withering away, not caring about life, to actually caring and diving into those neo-noir government conspiracy kind of storyline. I just was very drawn to it this time. I guess that's what I needed this time around.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's also been, what's crazy? It's also like, at least for me, when I first saw it, I was 18 years old. I had literally just finished my freshman year of college, and I was a baby. I was just but a
finished my
child.
second year.
Look at that. And it's just,
Yeah.
it's crazy to see like how you notice new things, especially now, like as, an adult in your mid-20s, how you start to relate more to different characters, even especially like the older characters. And I was like, Jesus. It was actually more frightening this time around, not because so much because of the jump scares, because I was like, dude, if that were my kid missing, I'd start throwing
I think
hands.
that was it. I was connecting so much more with Joyce.
Yeah.
Like this time around. And no, I don't have kids, but like you see,
It's the protectiveness. I'm an eldest daughter.
Yeah.
I got little brothers. It's that protective nature of like,
exactly.
If you don't believe me, bro.
And I'm like the oldest of my friend. Like I'm one of the oldest people in my friend group. So
it's okay. You're the wise one.
Yes. So it's just that instinct, and just also the ferocity in her performance just was captivating.
It really was. And I think another thing
up.
that
I think
it
that's
really
the key.
holds
It holds up.
It's a period drama, like period thriller, one could say. But it's still like the subject matter to this day still holds up, especially when they deal with basically the universe and their mom discrediting the women in the series, especially Joyce and even Karen Wheeler, Mike's mom. As soon as they express concern or like they actually show their protective instinct of like something is not right, gaslight, gatekeep, and girl boss.
Girl boss.
Yeah. Just constantly gaslit. And I'm like, you can't even throw them a bone. You can't. So I thought it was really nice to see how they explored that. And it's not that they were just written off as crazy even till the end. Like there is like a sort of redemption, and the characters throughout the series do learn to actually believe the women in their lives. So there is that, but I really like how they handled that, because if you're a woman in any year of the existence of human history, you've probably been called hysterical once or twice. So it's really interesting to see how people are like, oh my God, why does nobody believe Joyce? Well, Chad, because nobody believes women in a general sense. But here we
Yeah.
are.
Quick notes here. The score. Goddamn.
Delicious.
And it gets better with age.
It does. It really. Stranger Things, I'm so glad, is just 8 episodes. But I'm also glad it's 8 episodes. Because imagine if that were limited to a movie.
But also, the level of detail, because, for example, in the first season, Will, right before he disappears, he does that race with Dustin, and then he's like, I'll have your X-Men 134. And it's a Dark Phoenix comic, which basically, like, it's like parallel to the introduction of 11. So just the level of detail there is just so nice.
It's a love letter to nerdy shit. It really is. And speaking of love letter, Dungeons and Dragons. That's another thing. I had never played Dungeons and Dragons in my life until, like, the first time I saw this series. And I started playing and, like, participating in it in 2020 because, you know, the pandemic and all that, and I actually had time to get into it because it's not that it never interested me. I just never really had the time or, like, the knowledge to really get into that world. So I got into it. And then now, 2 years later, as, like, a pretty avid Dungeons and Dragons fan and fan of the Dungeons and Dragons series Critical Role, as, like, millions of people are, it really just kind of brought me, like, so many really, really, like, sentimental emotions when I saw season 1 and, like, the attention to detail to not only the mechanics and, like, you know, nerdy kids playing Dungeons and Dragons in the 80s. Also the way that they utilize the mechanics of Dungeons and Dragons storytelling throughout the show's story. And the way that I would notice things, I'm sure someone has done this on Tumblr. Like, I'm sure every, like, character has like a Dungeons and Dragons class already made. And then I know that Nancy has got to be like a rogue or something, honestly, because her perception is way too freaking high. And Jonathan notices fucking nothing.
Nothing.
And another quick thing is, like, even in that pilot, first of all, it's scrumptious. We saw that pilot for the first time. I'm like, I'm in it. I am here. I am into it. It does everything it needs
to do. It presents the characters. You immediately like the introductions to them. You immediately know what kind of characters they are. Like, honestly, if you want to learn about TV writing, whether it's drama, comedy, multicam, single cam, just the structure of it all, it follows everything to the T. Especially in the end, like, you immediately are left with all the conflicts that you will have throughout the season, especially with the Dungeons and Dragons game, which they follow through in every single season. The Dungeons and Dragons game predicts what is going to happen throughout the season, and it gives you key characters and key conflicts and key plot points, and it's just great because it just lets you know that these people know what they're doing, that you're going to be on a safe ride. Even though some people might argue against that as the seasons have progressed, but I still think that regardless of whether this was intended to be 5 seasons or just 1, at least they're trying. At least they still keep trying to put that same amount of care.
I would try to give them the benefit of the doubt and see them as the Duffer Brothers are the dungeon masters. They are writing the campaign, but because it is like a choose your own adventure, like, role-playing game, you can only predict what your players are going to do so well, you know, to a certain degree. You can only do so much. So, like, yes, at the beginning we'll have, like, more or less the plot of the season, but as it happens in real life, like D&D games, shit changes. There's encounters you didn't even plan because your players, like, started, like, being chaotic and started doing random shit, and now you gotta, like, on the fly just kind of be like, well, I guess you're gonna do this now. So I'd like to think that chaos is like an excuse or something in the storytelling now in the later seasons.
Because also, at least they have a writer's room. It's not just the Duffer Brothers writing this by themselves, which I really give credit to Netflix to not being like, you guys know what you're doing, let's do this. I like that they have a writer's room, as it should be.
Yeah, because it's a lot of work to try to do that by yourself or between 2 people, especially if you're siblings. Jesus Christ.
But another thing, I wrote, the character intros are pristine. The initial relationships, you immediately know who's who to everybody. Steve Harrington. I have to talk about him. He had
I
my
want to
heart
beat
since
him.
he had my heart
I want to
since
beat him
season
up.
1. Everyone started liking him in season 2, and in season 1, I was like, I want that one.
Nope. I refuse. Nope. Even rewatching it, I'm like, he can go to hell. I don't care.
Nah, fam.
I'm toxic.
I was like, look at him. I think I'm the toxic one.
Because
he's
okay. He's actually a really good guy.
I acknowledge his faults because I think that's what I love about him. Because of course, there's the whole thing where he was supposed to die in season 1, but they really like Joe Keery, and I'm like, yeah, what's not to like? So
many things, but it's okay.
Joe Keery?
I know it's okay. He's fine and dandy. He's fine and dandy. Fine and dandy.
Fandom.
The Stranger Things fandom's gonna come after me.
So the thing is that I do like how they decided to keep the character, and then they give him a natural progress and a natural growth because he is being a dick, and then he's like, he calls out his friends. Then he like goes to clean the mess because he just realized that he's just been too passive, so he has to actually be active and stand up for himself and actually be a decent human being if he wants to be with someone like Nancy. Which I think was the greatest thing because that was a catalyst for his character growth, which we have seen throughout the rest of the season, and what has made him such a fan favorite. And also then he just goes to Jonathan's place to apologize, and of course we have the iconic bat swing, which delicious.
Do a flip!
Do the flip! And then he's like with the bat. That entire sequence.
I appreciated that. I appreciate it. I'm like, you know what, you go, Steve. I mean,
yeah,
he should have probably like died there, but
hunting.
You know,
he was probably gonna die there, but then it gives us like the monster hunting goodness, and
it does.
Then we get the trio, and I thought like that again, they work so well together, and it just showed that this is actually a genuine malignant force, not to bring that word in, but it's true. It's they are in danger.
Cut out the concept.
They are in danger, and to see Jonathan be like almost eaten Nancy trying to shoot the gun, and then just Steve coming in and helping them, it just shows that like there are stakes in the show.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think especially for a first season, to see that nobody is really safe. It's kind of like Game of Thrones vibes, because Game of Thrones is very much like that, obviously in a much more intense level. But Stranger Things does it with a lot more intention. It's not with, at least in that first season, I could say, it's not with the intention to simply shock. Nothing in that first season is of mere superficial value. Everything has its purpose. Everything just like ties in together. You know those oddly satisfying like domino videos, like they that set up like these ridiculous things? That's season 1. It's just everything just, falls into place so perfectly and so neatly that it just really, really is spectacular. And I love the balance between the humor that we get with the kids and the innocence, and also the horror aspects of it. Like you can definitely tell that they were, Netflix was obviously kind of taking a chance on this series, so they didn't give it the biggest budget. So we don't really see the Demogorgon until the end, but I think it's just done so strategically. I think it was for the better, story-wise.
No, that's the thing. That's the best part of season 1 in general, because again, I've mentioned this on so many podcasts before, but the thing that I love about it is how we don't see the monster until necessary, and we don't see it like entirely until the final episode. We see bits and pieces, we see shadows, we see ideas of it, we see glimpses of it, but we don't see it in full force until it's against the chalkboard. And I think that's so brilliant because it creates tension, it creates horror, it creates fear. And that's the best part. But just the whole charm of the show is that it's become a cultural phenomenon, and it still stands as one of the best seasons of the show in terms of writing. I mean, the fucking Eggos became so popular. The freaking quote of mornings are for coffee and contemplation. Yes. But
my
again,
elf?
the quote
My
of,
L.
My elf. Your L on the shelf.
My L on the shelf. Damn right. That's season 1 L with the little Eggos.
Yes. I have the keychain. And because if you guys don't know, my dog's named 11. Yes.
We're putting a picture of 11 up. Look at how cute.
Hi, my baby. But it had people quoting Mornings Are for Coffee and Contemplation for so long. It's just so iconic, such an iconic show. It broke rules. I mean, Barb dying, which breaks the whole rule about virgins can't die, which sure, like, we have whatever, like Scream also addresses that in a way. But here it was more horrific, and people, like, there were so many petitions for Barb and freaking Benny.
Let's talk about it for just
and
a quick
Benny?
minute. Benny. No, let's talk about Barb for a second. Benny, yes, but Barb, to this day, has left, like, her character death left such an impact not only on the fandom, but, like, the queer fans of the show. Mm-hmm. The gays were rioting for Barb because look at me in the eye and tell me Barb was not, like, simping for Nancy.
Yeah.
Barb was our lesbian hero, and she was done dirty. Justice for Barb. Because Barb represented, like, all how so many of us, like, closeted kids represent. Just, like, pining, you know, in the 80s, this girl pining over this other popular girl who's now into this popular dude. Like, it doesn't get gayer than that.
And
so the impact.
Molly Ringwald, like, realness.
She was giving Molly Ringwald, you know, honestly, a run for her money. Quite honestly. And, you know, I don't know. She's just so iconic for that. It was brutal.
That
iconic.
Hulk sequence.
That Hulk?
That whole sequence.
The whole sequence.
The whole sequence. But just honestly, there are so many playbacks as well, because some of the songs that are used, like When Will is Found is used later in season 4. The Millennium Falcon model just being used, and then we see that again being played in the second, having a callback in the second season. Despite the fact that the show did get a lot of recognition, it's nice to see that, despite the award snubs for Joyce and, like, Winona and for David Harbour, it's nice to see that ensemble win, because they are truly an ensemble. And I think my favorite part of the show that I was noticing from season 1 and then going into my rewatch of season 2 recently is that I love that season 1 seems so self-contained. It has, like, everything seems so practical. The practical effects, everything seems small and contained. And up to season 3, I think we still had that, because even though season 3 is one of the biggest seasons before season 4, it was still, like, within a mall. It was still within a certain confine. There was still, like,
it was focused.
A reality to it. There was still, like, on-set location shootings. And then season 3, we just go bonkers. We go to Russia. And, like, I love season 4. Season 4, we go elsewhere, and I love it, but rewatching season 1, it's just nice to see the charm of it all, the small town effect of it all, the practicality of it all, because in season 1, you have the vines in the Upside Down, and they're real. They're walking through that space. Like, you can tell that they're actually real, and they decorated the set that way, especially the house. And then in season 2, which of course we'll dive into more in season 2's episode, but there is a change. There is a shift. And you can tell that it's because they got a bigger budget, but I wish we had stuck to that charm, because it's what makes it so good. It's like when in season 1 where they're building the deprivation tank, like in the school, that Dustin calls their teacher, and by the way, he's busy. He has love interest.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that nerdy man go. We love that. We love
that
to
was
see
iconic. You know what? Good for him.
Mr.
On a Saturday night, Mr. Clark getting it.
And then just being like, yes, I'm gonna tell you, small child, how to build a deprivation
at 10
chamber.
p.m. on a Saturday night. That's the dedication. That's teachers for you, honestly.
But, I love how we still keep him, like, up to season 3. Him in season 3, like, when the garage goes up, iconic. But going back to my point, which I just forgot, is that Mr.
The chemistry.
Clark. Yeah, the chemistry. But no, there was something else. Oh my god. Well, I don't know where I went with that, but I'll just keep it at Mr. Clark. We really love and appreciate him. And I'm glad we've kept him throughout all these seasons.
He's very sweet.
Yes. But yeah, also the references to like the Weirdo on Maple Street is the episode for season 2, if I'm not mistaken, which is a callback to Twilight Zone. So there's just a lot of love for the things we've grown up with, or the things that our parents made us grow up with, because it was before our time, but they were like, hello, this is the gospel, learn it.
This is the culture. Here it is. I mean, it's giving Goosebumps. I also grew up watching Goosebumps, and
yeah,
it's the vibe. It is genuinely the vibe of seeing like children also hold their own, and like the obviously episode 7's car chase.
I remember, yes, episode 7's car chase, and the fact that we still have car chases up to season 4. But I remember
so
what I was
fun.
gonna say, Mr. Clark talking about how in The Thing, like, it was made with like Play-Doh and blah blah blah, like The Thing,
Microwaved bubblegum.
Yes, exactly. That's what. No, because E.T. is made out of Play-Doh and chicken wire, and The Thing is microwave bubblegum. But see,
And
that's the
melted
thing. Those
plastic.
practicalities, and that's what we had with season 1. And I wish we could go back to that. But now, of course, they're dipping their toes into bigger waters, into an ocean. So they're just doing the best with what they can. And at least the Netflix believes in the show enough to give it the budget that it has gotten. And I can't wait to see where it goes in season 5, and I can't wait to continue chatting about Stranger Things on Ta Rara La Cosa.
Ta Rara La Cosa.
Yes, you had a final question.
I do have a final question, and I will be asking this question at the end of each episode of this cute little series. Who was your MVP of this season?
So, I have... Like, I'm gonna mention 4, but of course I will give you 1. That's my top. I love how Nancy Wheeler, we see her development throughout season 1. I thought that was a beautiful development, going from like this shy, like very like bashful, like the hair behind the ear kind of girl, like ooh, to like this badass that continues like to develop. She comes into her own, and I really like that. Steve, I like the character development there, because we go from this asshole to someone that actually wants to be something, make something for himself, instead of just being like, hey, my dad's an asshole, so I'm an asshole too. Then Joyce, of course, just no notes, just wonderful. But of course my favorite is David Harbour as Jim Hopper, because there are so many layers. I look at him, and just the emotions he shows throughout the season like make me cry, because it's like we're in the presence of an actor.
This is an actor.
Also, just can we talk about how attractive Jim Hopper is in season 1? I didn't look at him that way the first time I watched him. This time around, I was
Let me tell ya. Listen.
Times are changing, and I'm attracted to this man.
Defund the police, but Jim Hopper. Jim Hopper.
It's okay.
I'd fund him.
He's the
he
chief.
Could fund me.
He's just detective chief, because he out doing detective work instead of police work. It's fine. It's fine.
You know what? He's more than a cop. He's a dad.
That's like he's a protector.
he gives Liam Neeson a run for his money. Quite honestly, he is Liam Neeson in season 1.
The two movie and TV fathers that raised us.
Their powers unite. So your MVP, your number 1 MVP is Hopper.
For season 1 is Hopper.
Okay. Mine is Joyce. I felt
Yay.
for Joyce. I fell in love with Joyce all over again. Not that I ever fell out of love with her, but I feel like she hasn't gotten the spotlight, that same spotlight since season 1. Like, it's been obviously more focused on the kids, but
because the show was really,
Joyce is so good.
The show literally brought Winona Ryder back to Hollywood to do something.
100%.
They gave her a titular role. Like, she's the first name that shows up in the credits alongside like David Harbour. The show was hers. It was like the best thing. Again, that's why it bothers me so much that she didn't get more awards. Like, I should Google. I should have that information for you guys. But I know that because I was talking about it, and my roommate was like, no, she didn't win anything. And I was like about to like yeet the table.
6 years later.
Yeah, so it bothers me a lot, because rewatching it, I was like, this is a class act performance, and she is so good. And then we just kind of sideline her. Rewatching season 2 right now, which we will talk again. We will talk about it next week. But She's still present throughout the seasons. It's just that season 1 was like she was on a pedestal. This was for her. And I really wish we could get more of that.
Honestly. Yeah, I really hope that we do come back to her because, again, season 1 is very circular. It all comes around very full circle. So I hope.
Too.
Yeah,
no
so I
story
hope
is
that
more important than the other.
I hope that season 1 and season 5 really balance each other and close the series as a whole.
Be bookends the way you should be.
Exactly. So, high expectations. High expectations despite, what we may feel about season 4, but I'm excited. This is fun. I'm so glad that I got to rewatch this. This is a lovely excuse to rewatch because it's so beautiful. I got emotional. I'm just like, they're just little baby faces. Little Dustin is my favorite character of Stranger Things as a whole. I adore him. He's my son. He's my baby boy. He's my sweet cheese, my rotten soldier, my good time boy.
If we could, okay, I think we can close with this. Which character do you think you identify with more in season 1?
Ooh, Barb.
Barb.
I was homeschooled. I was always the Duff friend. I was Barb. Barb was like, Nancy, didn't you say we were supposed to go home? That's me. That was me. I am Barb. I am one of the Barbs. That's it. That's all she wrote.
I don't know who I would be. You pick for me. I'm leaning towards Joyce, but I don't know if I would give myself that.
I feel like you're perhaps like in this season, you're kind of Mike.
I knew it.
I'm like, let me choose the most Leo character of the entire series. You're kind of Mike. You are the main character. You're in your moment.
Season 1. Season 1 Mike was I
think he's precious. I think he's also precious because, again, a child is an absolute child, a very flawed child who does learn, and he doesn't give up on the people he cares about, as flawed as he may be.
The reason I was thinking Mike too is because I think I would jump off a cliff just so my friend doesn't get hurt.
You're a Hufflepuff.
Yes.
Mike is a Hufflepuff.
Sometimes
it'd be like that.
He was a Hufflepuff in season 1, then he just wanted to be a Gryffindor. Well, we've made it to the end of the episode.
It's been a day. It's been a recording. This was fun.
Yes. So please, we're spending a lot of we gave this a lot of love and care, the same way the Duffer Brothers have given their baby a lot of love and care. And shout out to, of course, to also director Sean Levy, because he directed one of my favorite seasons from season 4, and he just the entire cast and crew. We love you. We can't wait to see where this goes. And yeah, just very happy. Stranger Things, Netflix Crown Jewel. Where can they follow you?
They can follow me at Captain Melendez on Twitter and Letterboxd.
You can follow me at the Josie Marie on Twitter and Letterboxd. You can also follow Filme Talk at
You can film and talk.
You can film and talk. 2 Puerto Rican femmes talking film, so people actually get what we're trying to say
joke.
with Filme Talk. That FILMME talk on Twitter and YouTube. Please like and subscribe, and we can't wait to continue doing these videos. We have 3 more left, and please join along with us. Please rewatch with us if you'd like. I think it's fun. Also, I think it's late in the game, but of course, spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen season 4, you have 2 more episodes to catch up, and I think that's all for me.
Yeah, I mean, and if you enjoy this and if you want to see us do more like revisit series or just kind of dedicated series on this channel and on this podcast, let us know in confidence. Like, absolutely. And yeah, if you have never seen Stranger Things, what better excuse? 'Tis the season.
Ya tú sabes, ta rara la cosa.
Ta rara la cosa. Let us know in the comments what you think of this banging intro. that we worked really hard on, and as well as Christian Bob.
Yes.
So we're excited. Have fun and stay spooky.
See.